Hey everybody, and welcome to the bait shop. Tonight we are going to be taking a look at a classic soft plastic and discussing a couple ways to rig it. And that soft plastic is the 5-inch stick bait, often referred to as the Senko because of the popularity of the infamous Yamamoto Senko. And it doesn't matter if you are using a dad fish tackle fish stick, a Yamamoto Senko, a cream stick, or the good old classic Yum Dinger, you are going to rig them the same way. So we're going to take a look at these two options, discuss those, and the knots I'd recommend tying. All right, we are going to look at wacky rigging and Texas rigging. You can do either of these weighted or unweighted, but for the purposes of fishing a stick bait, I prefer unweighted in most cases. So we're going to set aside our wacky hooks and look at the Texas rig style first. Let's start with a good knot to tie your hook on. And honestly, this is the knot I'm going to recommend you use for both of these approaches we're going to discuss in this video. It is the Palomar knot. It is sturdy, it is reliable, it is low profile. To start, you're going to want to feed your line through the eyelet and then back through the eyelet. So you have a loop on one end and your main line and your tag end on the other. Pull your tag end through to give yourself plenty of slack, like that. I like to hold the loop around my thumb, these fingers here, and then pinch this line. Then I'm going to take this line, I'm going to circle my tag and my main line, feed it through like I'm going to tie it in a knot. But before I cinch that knot down, I'm going to grab the hook and feed it through that loop. Then I will tighten down the knot. And what we've done is we've created a knot that has two stripes of line going through. It's extra sturdy, it's less likely to just wear through. Then we're going to cut off our tag end and we'll be ready to rig up a worm. Rigging your stick bait is pretty simple. We're going to take our hook, insert it in the center of the bait. I like to go down just about to the bend in the hook, and then out through the side, push it all the way up, twist it around. It should look like that, and your worm may even pop up and cover the eyelet. Then you're going to find where the worm needs to come through, or the hook needs to come through the worm, like this, and you're going to pull it just a little bit and then through, and that's going to help you continue to have tension through the body of the worm here. Then you're going to expose that hook. You should be able to run your finger like that and not get caught. And that is a fish catching rig, just as it is. You can cast that out, it will sink, quiver, fall over. And then when you pop it up again, and repeat that action. Fish can't stand it. If you are wanting to fish it a little bit faster, you could take and hook it up on a weighted rig. A weighted Texas rig, which is probably the most traditional way to fish a Texas rig, is fairly simple. You can fish it without a bobber stopper. I prefer to use a stopper. You can get these fairly cheap. I'll have them linked below, as well as the hooks. You're just going to feed your line through that eye right there, pull it like so, and then pull that stop onto the line, just like that. Feed it down the line away so that you've got plenty of line to work with. Take the weight of your choice. I'm going to recommend an 1/8 ounce in most cases. Size up if you're working deeper water and want to work it faster, and size down if you're wanting to go for more finesse. We're using an 1/8 ounce TMO tungsten tonight. You're just going to feed that weight on and slide it down. Then you're just going to take your hook, tie it on with the knot of your preference. Once again, I'm going to use a Palomar knot. I feel like it is probably the best knot you can use for a Texas rig. If you wanted to use another durable knot, you could use a double San Diego jam, but I think that's a little bit bulkier of a knot, and when you're looking at a weight coming back against the eye, it's good to have a nice low profile so your weight is not mashing on your knot. There we go, got it tied. We're just going to take our tag end, clip that off, like so, and then you're going to take your bobber stopper and slide it down just like that. And then you'll just take your worm you want to rig up and repeat the steps we did earlier in the center, out the side, up, Figure out where you want it to come through, pull it just a little bit tighter, and then boom, you have got a weighted Texas rigged fish stick. All right, let's look at our second method of fishing a stick bait. We have got a couple Wacky hooks here. You don't have to use Wacky hooks. You can use traditional circle hooks. I've even fished a Wacky rig on a EWG hook and it pop fished just fine. These hooks are just a little more purposed towards a Wacky rig. We have a weighted option here. You'll notice both of ours have these wire weed guards. I honestly have found that I prefer a Wacky hook without the weed guard. I feel like the weed guard just gets the line and other things tangled around it. We are going to use this one for our demonstration. My recommendation is somewhere between a 2 and a 1/0 Wacky hook. We have got a size 1 here. You're going to take your fish stick, whatever it may be, figure out where the center is. Where, when you hold it, does it have the most balanced dangle? For most, it's going to be right around in here. You have this bare patch. It's usually right around, just around there. So we're going to take ours, and you're just going to take your Wacky hook and hook it right through the center of the stick bait, just like so. You'll tie this on with a Palomar knot, and it just bounces and it shimmies down, and then it bounces, it shimmies down. And that is a great bait, especially for days when they're just not biting. So we have got two great options for fishing a traditional 5-inch stick bait. For both options, I'm going to recommend a low poundage line, something like 10 to 6 pound line. As far as your actual rod and reel setup, I would prefer for both of these a 7-foot medium heavy spinning setup with probably a 1,000 to 2,500 size reel. I prefer a 2,500. Either just spooled up straight with a 10-pound fluorocarbon, or you could do like a 15-pound braid to a 10 to 6 pound fluorocarbon leader. And that's going to prevent the fish being able to see the line when you go to that fluorocarbon. And especially if you're having a hard time with the bite, which is often when I will break out these rigs, having that lower poundage line is going to increase your bite ratio. So Wacky rig is pretty simple to fish. You're going to cast it out, preferably near cover. I don't really fish a Wacky just in open water. I know that you can. And when you're fishing with the weighted hook, maybe you're using your electronics to spot fish and mark them and drop it down on top of them. But cast it out, and as it sinks, these will quiver and it will shimmy side to side like this a little bit. And that imitates a dying bait fish, kind of spasming in the water and floating down. And then when you pull it, those tendrils or those ends of the worm go up, and then they're going to umbrella out like this and do the same thing. And so it's really a dying bait fish imitation, and bass are opportunistic. They love to eat easy meals. So when they see a dying bait fish, that's an easy meal. They're going to usually bite it. That's just one of the reasons the Wacky rig is so good at catching fish when they're just not biting. For the Texas rig, it's pretty simple. You're going to fish it basically the same, weightless or not. Cast it out, let it sink. You want to let it hit bottom and give it a moment, because it will stop and it will quiver, and then it will slowly fall over to its side. When it falls over to its side, that's when you're going to want to pop it again. It'll pop back up and then slowly fall over to its side. And with that, you're really imitating more of a feeding bait fish, something along the bottom, picking up little bits of food that is also having some trouble as it falls over. So a great way to cover water, and a great way if you have vegetation or something where you feel like this Wacky rig is just going to get hung up. Rigging it up weedless is a great way to get it through vegetation or get it through structure where you're not going to get as hung up on it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative, and I hope that you go and catch some fish, and I will catch you all next time.